please.
Representative Carson.
Here.
Representative Marshall. Representative Carnevale. Representative Filippi.
Here.
Representative Riley. Myrna George. Jessica Willey.
Here.
Karen Jedson. Jennifer Bramley. Bob Billington. Martha Sheridan. Evan Smith.
Here.
Patty Doyle. John Duffy.
Here.
We do have a quorum, Madam President. Madam Chair.
Very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so before we get started with today's presentations, we have a lot on our agenda as usual. I wanted to just share a few ideas with everyone. The first thing is that I plan on introducing legislation next week to extend this study commission through the end of the calendar year. I think that I don't expect that we'll be meeting as much after we conclude our business in this early spring. But I think that as the programs get implemented and as things roll out, we may want to just come together once or twice later on this year to evaluate how things are going, get any feedback. So I don't expect any problems with doing that, but I'll keep you posted on that. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was the memo that I sent out earlier this week, where I would like to spend maybe about 10 minutes seeing if there's any feedback, just to regroup and just to re-say it. I mean, the two issues that I saw, that I'm beginning to see that are emerging, one has to do with how we measure the new branding program, given the fact that in our existing measurements are regional and each region has sort of been keeping their own measurements. And my second issue that I see emerging is around some decision-making, integrated joint decision-making. Each of the regions have their own boards. I'm sensitive to their authority and their investment in their region, and how, if anyone has any issues around how decisions were being made. So I'll open the floor up for about 10 minutes, and we'll see if anybody has any comments on that stuff. Myrna?
For the purposes of discussion, I would just like to say that it's embedded in statute that we all have authoritarian boards that we function under. And it is under their guise that we put proposals forward for our particular region with their approval. And these are the stakeholders that directly benefit from our programs. So how we begin to look at that in a different paradigm, I think, would have to take another look at statute.
Mm-hmm. Bob?
Am I good? Yes, I'm on. Madam Chair, in terms of measurement of tourism activity in the state, several years back, my colleagues can correct me, but several years back, the state adopted a tourism satellite accounting methodology that is used around the world. And thankfully, Rhode Island, after several years, adopted it. All of the districts support it financially. And what it gives us is an economic accounting that's a standard developed by George Washington University, adopted by the World Tourism Organization, the World Travel and Tourism Council, many states here in the United States and, of course, around the world. But it gives us an apples-to-apples comparison and an oranges-to-oranges comparison, as opposed to using a different set. And we all submit to it information. It's done third-party. We contract. What's the company that we contract? Is it Global Insights? Global Insights, which we manage the contract through Commerce RI. But it really gives Rhode Island a leg up, because we can measure ourselves by district, by state, and compare ourselves around the world.
That's good information. I wasn't aware of that.
I'm sorry?
I said I wasn't aware of that, but I'm going to become a student of it now.
Yeah, and I think it would probably be good for the commission to maybe have a presentation.
I think you're right.
That could be done by Global Insights. Mark Broder, I think, is one of the best statisticians that we have, and can probably do a good job presenting on his own. But if you wanted to hear from Global Insights, I'm sure they'd come in. It's fascinating, but they call it a tourism satellite account, because essentially they extract elements out of everything that is spent, every dollar, every penny that's spent in Rhode Island, and collect it sidebar to everything else, and it gives us a good, accurate measurement year to year.
Yeah, Mark has shared some of that with me in meetings that I had with him, but maybe we should just have a discussion of it here. Maybe some of the members of the House would like to know about that as well. Any other comments? Okay, well, those are two things that I'm just going to ask you to think about as we wind down. We only have 2 more meetings, and so I think one of the things that will be hopefully come out of our work will be that we want it to be extended and stay, keep the commission till the end of the year, and a few other of these issues that we can talk about again at our next meeting briefly, and then at our last meeting in more detail. So, on that note, I'm going to turn the agenda over to Jessica Willey, who's first this afternoon, to tell us about tourism on Block Island.
Thank you, Representative Carson. I am on TV. Very happy to be here today, given this opportunity to speak with you about our program. I get highly enthusiastic when I talk about Block Island, and sometimes go a little long, so I'm going to try really hard to keep it short. And to that end, in your Block Island folders in front of you, you'll find, as well as our literature, there are 3 other pieces of paper in there. One is our audit. One is our version of our strategic plan, which is just a mission and vision statement. I'll be talking about it a little bit in the presentation. And then we have a year in review document. We don't have an annual plan, but this is something that I just give to my board, and it's just a very short bullet point of everything we do through the year. So I can get started. Start at the beginning. The Block Island Tourism Council is a 501c6. We have 7 members that are appointed by the New Shoreham Town Council. Our mission is to attract the type of visitor spending that results in sustainable and significant economic and quality of life benefits for Block Island. And just as an aside, just because all regions are slightly different, the Block Island Tourism Council does adhere to open meeting laws. We do post our agendas and our minutes on the Rhode Island Secretary of State website. Our meetings are all open to the public and covered by the local press. Our annual budget is generally somewhere around $300,000. It's obviously the smallest of all of the regions. We're 95% funded by the hotel tax. And this was for fiscal year ending 2015. Hotel tax, you can see it's been trending upward since the recession here, starting with fiscal year 09-10 and going up. And we have reporting in through October of 2015, and we're up 15% currently this year. So we've projected out to have a good year this season. Just one thing of note with Block Island's hotel tax is that I wouldn't expect, as far as measurement is concerned, I wouldn't expect Block Island's hotel tax to go up 15% again next year and the following year and the following year. We only have 600 hotel rooms on Block Island that collect that hotel tax. So unless something changes in the amount, in the formula of the amount of money we get, I wouldn't expect us to keep going up. Last year was probably the busiest year on record on Block Island. And I think we topping out around $315,000. It's not ever going to, it's not going to keep going.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
What is your year? Is it July 1st to June 30th?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. This is just sort of a little joke, but the staff organizational chart on Block Island is me. Don't get confused. So I'm here today, and on Sunday I'm going to be at the Providence Convention Center standing behind a booth representing Block Island at the Wedding Expo. I do everything in the office. So. Moving right along to marketing and advertising strategies, we at the Block Island Tourism Council do traditional advertising. We do online advertising. We do social media. We have collateral. We go to trade shows. We have a website, and we have a great public relations program, which I'll just take each of those things very briefly. So a quick slide just to show you sort of our messaging. This is just one of our print ads that appeared in Yankee Magazine. Always everything driving to our website. And I am a big fan of videos and PowerPoint presentations, so I'm just going to show you our TV commercial from this past summer, if it will play. No? Oh, it's really good. Those are my parents and my kids, by the way. Nope. Oh, well. Sorry, everyone. That'll save us some time. We did do TV this past year, though, for the first time, and was highly successful. We had to do it, obviously we have a very small budget, so we had to keep it hyper-regional. But it went well. We do a lot of online advertising, specifically because we can track the rate of return on that. So, for example, we buy our TripAdvisor page, and then we track how many people come to our website from the TripAdvisor site. We do a lot of online advertising. That's the majority of our ad buy. We do have a robust social media program. We have a Facebook page. We have a Twitter page, account, Instagram, Pinterest. We also have YouTube videos. And the social media program has been really great for Block Island. We're so visually based that, Instagram and YouTube, it's almost an easy sell. It's a great way to get our message out. And being an office of one with a small budget, social media obviously is a good place for us to be. We also started a new program this past summer that sent out an e-blast to our list of over 20,000 people. It goes out every Monday morning through the whole season. And it has, what we did is we built out a calendar on our website. So people get this e-blast, and then it gets, if you want to read more about the event that's coming up that week, it takes you right into our website. This helped significantly drive traffic to our website this past summer. And we were up over 50% in website visits this past summer because of this calendar. Our website is very well trafficked. We did change it over to responsive site about a year ago. So we do have it on handheld devices. Everything looks the same no matter what you're looking at. And again, this is very heavily trafficked. It's how we control our message. It's how we get information out to people. And we like it. Public relations, we also had a great year as far as public relations. We have in the last few years have been great public relations-wise for Block Island. This year we did have a nice article in the Wall Street Journal, and the author of that decided to write another sort of, when talking with him after and fact-checking this article that was in the Wall Street Journal, he had heard when he was out here that the way we get Chinese food to Block Island is because we don't have a restaurant, is that we fly it out. And he thought that was just the best story, and it ended up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is not generally a publication that we would have gone after, so this was just sort of fate that this was a person who happened to visit Block Island as a child and decided he wanted to write an article on it, but we were able to be in contact with him and fact-check his article and sort of drive the article to be what we wanted and share pictures and things like that. So Block Island is a very unique and special place. A lot of people do want to write about it, and they do, it's more and more, it's becoming more and more known, especially as other places are getting busier and more commercial. Block Island sort of has this niche now where we've sort of stayed the same. So the publications, as far as marketing is concerned, that are in your packet, we have a magazine, we have a smaller brochure, and then we have our mobile bike guide, which I'll be telling you about in a little bit. Our target audience, obviously the drive market, all of New England, New York, that area is what we look for on Block Island. When we're marketing, we do talk about day trippers versus overnighters. Obviously, just in case you don't know, the only way to get to Block Island is by boat or by plane. You can't drive there. There's no bridge. So because we are sort of maxed out in our accommodations at some high season, during the high season, we definitely market during the high season to day trippers. We want these people to come out for the day, enjoy Block Island. Usually the first-time visitors are day trippers, and then they become overnight visitors and returning visitors. So we look at all those things pretty closely. The time of year that we market, who we're marketing to. Emerging markets are all about the shoulder season. As I said, this past summer was very, very busy. If you came out on a weekend in August to Block Island, it might not be the Block Island you remember from in the past. There's so many people right in that downtown area. Now, once you get right out of the downtown, it's fine. It's a whole, you're right back to your own Block Island. But we really focus on the shoulder season. The Tourism Council does as far as marketing. So we look at things like the wedding market of the aviation community. We just successfully worked with RIAC to bring our landing fee down out on Block Island. So we're going to be doing a big marketing push to pilots. And we look at millennials and boomers because they aren't necessarily working 9-to-5 jobs where they are. These are people who have time to come to Block Island and spend a week, or their kids are out of the house. They have the money. So. And we also have a new emerging market that actually isn't even on the slide because it's all just sort of happening very recently, is the luxury travel market. And I'll talk about that a little bit under opportunities. Transportation and accessibility for us, and opportunities have been, in the last 5 years, direct flights from TF Green Airport to Block Island, making Block Island much more accessible to people outside of the New England area, people who are flying in. And then also the ferry from Newport has been really great for Block Island because we've been able to sort of piggyback on all the great things that Newport has done, and the international market and the wedding market, and people are there, they're there for a week, maybe they want to come to Block Island for a couple hours, they can do that now with a high-speed ferry. So that's definitely been an opportunity for us. The natural beauty and conservation on Block Island is an opportunity, 44.7% preserved open space on Block Island, and that is, like I said, not usual these days. It's sort of that step back in time, get away from it all, and we look at that as a big opportunity. We do have one new inn on Block Island that was built, just opened this December. It's the first new build inn on Block Island in 10 years. It's 10 rooms. It is a year-round property. We also have had one other major property that was purchased and is being renovated and is going to be a high-end property, as well as another across the street, all in the same row. We have 3 new properties basically coming on the market this summer that are high-end luxury. We could definitely market them to the luxury traveler, where before we were trying to market to that segment but didn't really have the product to give them, and now we do. So that's going to be exciting. Barriers, seasonality. We have a short season. Maybe it's a 10-week season. We've been trying very hard to extend it. We have had a lot of success in extending the season. Housing goes along with that, housing for staff. We have 1,000 people that live on Block Island 6 months of the year, and we have 20 to 30,000 6 months of the year. So we need to have sewer systems and water systems and all those things that come with having 30,000 people there in a day in the summer. We have to have those things in place all year round. So we look at housing is a big issue, and accessibility is also a barrier because all those great things I just talked about as far as accessibility are only run in the high season. So in the shoulder season, there's no Newport ferry, there's no flights from TF Green. We just have the one ferry that runs year round. So same with the private boaters. Obviously you're not going to be taking your boat out in the crazy weather. So accessibility is a barrier. Island infrastructure, it's things like dunes. It can't be too crowded on Block Island. We just don't have the space for the people, and the infrastructure for those people. The roads can't handle it. Things like that. The cost of doing business on Block Island is extremely expensive. Very high electric rates. Obviously, we have these new windmills coming in. Hopefully, that will lower our electric rates. It's yet to be seen, but we're crossing our fingers. But the cost of doing business on Block Island is very high. I mean, we have to try not to price ourselves out and to have the product that we promote without pricing ourselves out. And as all of my regional partners have mentioned, the lack of a strong state brand has been a barrier to our marketing. Our competitive strengths. Don't you just want to go there? Definitely. A lot of cities and towns and places are a hard sell. Block Island's not. I mean, you can show people a picture of Block Island, and almost always people want to go and try it. So that's a competitive strength for us. It's also a competitive strength for us on Block Island as a tourism council to be living there, to know Block Island, to know that tipping point of when too many visitors is too many, is too much, it's going to start turning people away. Because once our people come and it's not the Block Island they remember, they're not going to visit again. And returning customers are extremely important to Block Island. So we are hyper aware of that on the island, and that is a competitive strength, as well as our natural beauty and our 44.7% preserved open space. 2 successful programs we've had in the last 5 years. I'm not going to get into them that long, but we do have the Block Island Glass Float Project, which is started as an art installation. They're small glass floats. They're the size of a grapefruit. You can see she's holding one in her hand right there. That picture was taken on Block Island this past summer. They're hidden all over the island on the trails, and it's a get back to nature thing. You wouldn't believe the amount of people who come to Block Island to find this glass float. It's numbered, it's etched with a Block Island. You get it, you register it on the website. People come from, I'm not kidding, they come from all over the country to go try to find one of these things. People plan their vacations around when they're going to be hidden. There's only 500 of them, but it's turned into this amazing program that the Block Island Tourism Council sponsored. We built their website. We, being me, go out and help hide the floats. And it's been a highly successful program on a super local level. That's sort of our Get Back to Nature program. Then we have our mobile bike tour, which is the technology program that's been also extremely successful and picked up by the press, as well as the Glass Float Project. The mobile bike tour, you take your phone, you scan your QR code at 12 spots around the island, and it takes you to a video of where you're standing. It talks to you all about the bluffs or wherever you might be on the island. Very professionally done. It came out really, really well. You do have the little map in your packets about that, but it helps people get around Block Island. You can do it by bike, you can do it by moped, you can do it by car. Again, hyper local. It's all narrated, gorgeous scenery, and gives a little history. And you don't need the taxi driver or somebody else taking you around to show you how to go, where to go. It's also been a very popular program. As I said, you asked for a strategic plan. We had a 5-year plan, but we changed it at the request of one of our board members last year to a mission and vision statement. That is in your packet, but we do have our 5 major strategies of the Tourism Council are to make Block Island more hospitable and be stewards of that place, to market Block Island, to support and maintain a sense of place, to prioritize our investments and activities, and to measure and be accountable always. As far as state and regional cooperation go, this slide is no different from any of the slides. It's hard to see. Any of the slides you saw from any of the other regional directors. We constantly are working together. We worked with the state on the Condor Air launch. We worked with the state on Brand USA and in Discover New England media buys. I can't tell you. I'm the new kid of the bunch as far as the regional directors go. I'm 9 years, I think, and I'm on the phone with one of them at least once a week, getting information, bouncing ideas off, and learning so much. And believe me when I tell you, there's no competition between the regions, between the regional directors. It's all how we can help each other out, and it's definitely. What is it? The rising tide raises all ships and whatnot. So definitely work with these people quite often. And in an example of that regional cooperation, I took a slide right from Providence Warwick Convention Visitors Bureau presentation, because they answered all the questions that were that were asked of us in exactly the same way that we would have answered it. So I stole the slide right out of their presentation. I asked for it and used their slide right out of their presentation. But so what is your region hoping for in this new branding program? We can't say these things enough, so it's worth being repeated. An umbrella brand that reflects all of Rhode Island's great assets, a fully functional and flexible website and CRM system, so important, an integrated statewide marketing and sales program to support the brand. What does our region need from the state to support our local efforts? Definitely graphic materials that are easily incorporated and adapted into our existing brands. Clear, consistent communication to maximize collaboration and avoid duplication of efforts. I also added to this one an understanding of what we do and who we are, especially on Block Island. That's super important to realize that we're very, very busy and crazy in July and August, but we need a little help on the shoulder season. What would our region like to avoid in the state branding program? A holistic approach to marketing the state that relies only on one or two key assets. How would we like to relate to the state and the other regions? Commerce Rhode Island should leverage our familiarity and intimate relationships with businesses and attractions within our respective regions to develop and promote authentic visitor experiences, and take advantage of our existing national connections to gain insight into industry best practices. I would definitely say, and you've heard it before, but some of the best and brightest in tourism are in this room, and it would be a mistake not to tap into that potential. The final question was, how are we absorbing the cuts? And on Block Island, when we first heard of the governor's proposed budget, we thought our budget was going to be cut in half, so we put a spending freeze right then. And so we didn't do as much fall marketing as we had planned, and that when the cuts didn't come through as drastic as we thought they might, we then were back in an okay position. So as of right now, we already sort of absorbed those cuts before they happened. And the only other thing is we had been looking at hiring another person for our office, but that's on hold for now until we see what exactly is going to happen down the road. That's it.
Another great presentation, and another. It's clear to me again that the regions have done tremendous work drilling down to their small part of our state and really maximizing the resources and the assets that the state has in their region. Very evident. I think that's probably another significant thing coming out of this study commission, that we really want to communicate to Commerce clearly, that the regions are very well developed. Representative Marshall.
Thank you, Chairman. I was going to ask this question, but you sort of answered it, as how you see your individual councils working in collaboration with the statewide branding approach. But I don't know if this has been discussed already amongst Rhode Island Commerce Rhode Island and the individual councils. But as the chairwoman stated, we have great assets in all of you and great depth over the years of what you know about your individual regions, as well as what you've done to keep them strong during these economic downturns, and certainly looking forward. But what troubled me with one of your comments is that you need to reach out rather than Commerce Rhode Island reaching out to you. And the thought process that came to mind, and again, I don't know if this has been brought up at one of the conversations, but it's whether or not there should be a statewide tourism council made up of all of you in collaboration with Commerce Rhode Island that meets on a monthly basis, so that you're all kept in a loop and you all have a finger on a pulse, and Commerce Rhode Island has a finger on a pulse as well from all of you individually, as opposed to you having to reach out and find out what's going on at the state level. This was supposed to be a two-way street. The state's supposed to be utilizing your actions to date, but at the same time, what Commerce Rhode Island is supposed to be doing is providing you with the assets that they are going to be putting forth for all your disposals at the same time. And I don't know if that has been talked about yet from a statewide approach.
Well, Commerce is here today. We're going to hear a little bit more about the collaboration and integration. So why don't we hold that question for them?
Thank you.
Thank you, and I echo much of what Representative Marshall just said, and I would just like to add for the record that I'm a Block Island business owner, and I've had the opportunity to witness the work of Jess Willie and the Block Island Tourism Council over the past 20 years. You said you're like a new kid on the block, and it doesn't appear that way. I've personally benefited from your work and the work of your organization, and you market Block Island in a way that no one off Block Island could even come close to doing so, because I saw the pictures that you put up there and I know where they're taken from, and unless you're from Block Island and understand our community, you won't even know where to go to take the right pictures. So one of the reasons I'm so confident in Block Island is because of people like you, Jessica, and our community, and frankly the empowerment that the state has given us through the tourism tax has given the Block Island Tourism Council and you to adequately market our town is one of the reasons that I feel confident investing in Block Island. And so I want to put that on the record and thank you for your hard work, and thank the Block Island Tourism Council for your hard work.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Bob?
Great work, Tess, as normal. Kind of tangential, I guess, to your presentation. The erosion around the island, you must be worried about.
Yes.
You got to be thinking about it. Is there any assessments being done? How are we watching what goes on?
Are you talking about the bluffs or? Yeah. Right. Things that are more able to be controlled right now, things like dune preservation, are things that are talked about at the town council level and things like that. I mean, we go out and we look at, conservation is big on the island. As far as, so that's things that we can control and work on and keep people off the dunes and signage and stuff like that. As far as, the bluffs eroding, there's nothing, we don't build houses on them. I mean, that's it. The ones that fall in, don't rebuild them. The lighthouse has moved back. There's not, hopefully we have another couple hundred years and it will be somebody else's problem.
Actually, I think it's our problem right now, but that's another study commission.
Jess, fabulous presentation. I was hoping for one slide of you holding up a 40-pound striped bass. And you covered a lot of the wonderful things that you do on Block Island, but I just wanted to add to that sport fishing is such a tremendous asset for the state of Rhode Island. It's something we do as well, if not better than any other state. And South County, Newport, and all the coastal communities in Rhode Island share in the sport fishing community. But I think that the American record, or the world record striped bass, was caught in Block Island waters.
Not the world record,
okay.
but the national
American record.
Yeah, it was caught in Block Island waters, and the one before that held the record for 30 years was also caught in Block Island waters. And yeah, fishing is a huge
industry,
huge industry, and we're Block Island is working and sort of spearheading the effort to keep that fishing alive for the future by talking about limits on how many fish they can keep and all that. So we've been leading the way on, some of our local fishermen have been leading the way on that.
I just want to give a shout out to sport fishing and all the good things. And I know you've caught a 40-pound striped bass. I saw the photo.
And a bluefish. I mean, not bluefish,
I think the last question on this will be from Myrna, because I want to move on.
Sure.
It's not so much a question as a statement, actually. I'd just like to tag on to what Representative Filippi pointed out, and that is the fine work, and I would like to exclude myself but cannot, but the legislature back in the early 80s decided to fund a marketing program funded by hotel tax, specifically to bring people into the region. It's one of the best things that the legislature ever did. We have been stable and have not had our budgets eroded, and that is what has grown this into the economic engine it is. If we consider for a moment that the low-hanging fruit in the Commerce Division has always been tourism and taking money away from it, and that's how they got to where they are today. So just kudos to the legislature for something they did right.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much. Your presentation was great.
Sorry. I'd like to start by saying thank you for this opportunity today. It is my pleasure to be able to share with you some of the great things going on in the city of Warwick. Now, to get this to work. How do I go to CJ? How do I go to the next screen? I'm all set. Thank you very much. A little technical difficulty. I apologize. My first slide here today is a link to the city audit. I share this with you because this is how the division I oversee is audited yearly as part of the greater city examination. And I think Jess mentioned earlier that we're all a little bit different in the regions, and being a city division, I just wanted to share that with you right up front and let you know that we are audited through the annual audit. In addition, being a city entity, my staff and I fall under city employee status and have to live within the rules and regulations of city government. This includes going out to public bid process, seeking approval for projects that cost over $2,500 by our city council, presenting a budget to our city council yearly, as well as complying with open meetings laws. Although cumbersome at times, it serves as a fabulous system of checks and balances and a great way to communicate with our city leadership. Evan, the slide's for you. We do have fishing in Warwick as well, along with our 39 miles of coastline. I do get a little passionate as well, so mind the sidetrack. As a city division, and like most government agencies, we run a very lean organizational chart. We're a three-person staff. Oops. Hold on. So along with reporting to the administration and the CEO's Mayor Scott Avedisian, the 9-member city council and the 83,000 residents were also overseen by a Warwick Tourism Advisory Board. You'll see here the designees, which include 3 hoteliers, one restaurant representative, a cultural rep, and myself. I keep changing this, but it doesn't go with the slide. The board meets quarterly to review upcoming marketing programs, trade shows, conferences, and we discuss future actions and programming. Our allocations, as you can see here, is that showing up? Has increased over the years. In 13, we was 644,000. I mean 13, and 14 we was 671,000, and in 15, 735. Again, a fairly small budget for a city that hosts 16 hotels. And when I started in the city, there were 5 hotels. In my 25 years experience, we've increased to 16. The most hotel structures in the state of Rhode Island in one community. Now I lost my place again. Sorry. So our annual budget, I started with 2013, and this is a snapshot of the operating budget. And you'll see the majority of the budget, 65% of that in 2013 was spent on marketing. Salaries a mere 34%, and operating expenses 1%. You might ask why that's so small. It's because we're a city division. Our overhead is very, very low. We take full advantage of that. We also take full advantage of the fact that we can call on city division heads and get things done quite quickly, very easy operations and good communications with city leaders. 2014, you'll see similar numbers, 65% in marketing and 34% in salaries. And then you'll see in 15, 68%. That's obviously due to the increase in the funding and no increase in salaries. City government. Next, the STAR report. You'll see a beautiful flow of increase in occupancy over the past few years, in particular fiscal year 2015. And I'll highlight the 6.4% increase there with 74.7%. And you can read the slides. Very positive. As well, you will see our average daily room rates have continued to progress. At 2013, they were $87.49. 14, we went up to $91.12 with a 4.2%. I wish it was 42. 4.2% increase, and then a big jump again in 2015 with a 5.9% increase. I like this slide a lot. This is our revenue per available room, and in the city of Warwick, it's always been sort of a challenge because we are that community, centrally located and located by the airport. So you'll see in fiscal year 2013, our increase was 8% to a $60 value. And then we've gone up to 64.01 in 2014 with a 6% increase, and then a very nice number at 12.7% increase in fiscal year 2015. This is my favorite slide. No pictures, but this came exactly from a press conference that we had this summer. And just to share with you, Warwick celebrated a record-breaking summer. Our hotels in June, July, and August ran an 86% occupancy. We're really proud of that fact. And any given Friday and Saturday night in August, the numbers were 96%. What that will tell you is that the shift is taking place, and we really are a community that people are finding it economical, convenient, affordable to stay in Warwick, and see the state of Rhode Island. And you'll see as I move on how we're utilizing that to our advantage. Our mission statement, and this was created by our Warwick Tourism Advisory Board in the 90s, so it could use some updating, and you'll see that at the end, because I think I would add that we would also positively or negatively, actually positively work with all the regions throughout the state. I think at that time it was something that we were just building upon. However, our mission statement is to strategically, creatively, and effectively appropriate allocated Warwick hotel tax dollars for the sole purpose of maximizing revenues generated by tourism, to promote and encourage Warwick as a destination in order for all industries to benefit: lodging, restaurants, entertainment, retail, and transportation, to support and encourage future tourism planning and development, to support the Rhode Island Hospitality Association and the Providence Warwick Convention and Visitors Bureau on issues which positively or negatively affect the tourism industry. So, wanted to mention here a little bit about, and stop me if anyone has any questions, please feel free to interject. Here we have a slide about our market audience, and we commissioned a study in collaboration with the Providence Warwick CVB to examine some of our 2014 numbers as to who our leisure marketing audience is. And I won't bore you with all the details, but you'll see two slides here that I thought may be of interest to you all. In particular, our audience of potential visitors to the area consisted mostly from the Northeast, and this is on the leisure side of things. And you'll see the top 5 states of origin include New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And the marketing that we do in Warwick on the leisure side is based upon those figures, and you'll see that in a little bit. Again, visitor economic impact. The overnight leisure visitor in fiscal year 2014 in both communities, by the way, both Providence and Warwick, the leisure visitors, a very nice number at 445,000 leisure visitors staying in the hotels in Warwick and Providence, and an economic impact of $149 million in direct spending among those visitors. Marketing and advertising strategies over the past 5 years. Warwick is centrally located. We all know that. We're home to TF Green Airport, the Interlink, close to 95, easily accessible to the rest of the state. You can get to the end of the state in 35 minutes from the city of Warwick. The way I drive, it might be 25. Don't tell anyone. But we all understand that that's an asset that we would play upon. And as such, you can see in our slogan that we've been utilizing, "Stay in Warwick, see Rhode Island," showcases us as a destination where we can stay centrally, or visitors can stay centrally in Rhode Island and see the entire state while also enjoying the amenities that Warwick has to offer. Our campaigns all play off this theme, and in addition, we use the natural resources, attractions, and amenities that we have to enrich our literature and brochures and provide these as additional options for our tourists. 3 successful programs. I just mentioned the Stay Park and Fly, and we do an extensive amount of advertising in regards to that. That's on our TripAdvisor page. It's on our DMO page. We do commercials in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and that's really our main focus, is stay in Warwick and see Rhode Island. Additionally, Shop and Dine in Warwick. That's really our Shop Local campaign for maybe some other destinations throughout the state, but it's because we represent the entire city. It was difficult for us to focus on small businesses or any one area over another, so we came up with Shop and Dine in Warwick, and we really pushed that in the shoulder months, and it's been quite successful. One of my favorite campaigns is the one in the center, Stay Park and Fly, and this is reverse marketing, if you might. Basically, with the 16 hotels, as I mentioned, we work collaboratively with them to come up with a rate for a room. Well, we don't talk to them about the rates, but they give us rates and we help promote them. And what it is, it offers visitors an opportunity to stay in a Warwick hotel prior to their visit or their departure out of TF Green Airport. They get to park their car at the hotel for up to 2 weeks, free continental breakfast, and shuttle service to and from the airport. So really a drive market, but it works for the hotels, especially on the shoulder seasons when people are going to Florida or going south with or without family, and it works quite well. Our hotels, I know, rely on it very heavily. Successful co-ops, you'll see the one in the middle. I think my colleagues have mentioned that in the past. I think Newport had posted that. This is something that we've done with Discover New England. And we always participate on a regional level with the state in order to leverage some of the dollars. As well, we've been partners with TF Green Airport, Condor Airline, bringing them in. We partnered with them the best that we could. All the regions participated there, Cape Verde, Cape Air. Whenever the airport calls on us, we're there. We're a city to support what they're doing and bringing in, and we're looking forward to continuing our work with them. As well, wrap it up with a weekend in Providence and Warwick. This is a campaign that we've been running with Providence as an opportunity to, again, leverage dollars on the shoulder season and bring more people in. We're advertising that on social media, doing packages with it, like a lot of buzz going on, and we're really excited about that campaign as well. This is my tout screen, and I apologize, but I got to go there a minute. Green Airport, if you didn't already know, now you will. Voted third best in the country by Condé Nast Traveler, 2015 Reader's Choice Award. Your very own airport in your state. So we're pleased to have them in Warwick. Social media platform, as the others spoke, you'll see that we do the similar avenues in regards to advertising on social media. We recently put into place a social media concierge. We're tracking everything. Our messages are uniform. You'll see 11,650 likes on Facebook for little old Warwick. We're excited about that. Twitter, people are following us, and Instagram, 618. What I like most about the social media, and I know it reaches our visitors, but our residents are also participating, and that's super important because we really believe that, you know, you tell two friends and so on, and we really want our visitors to enjoy the city that they're housed in and speak with their friends, relatives, cousins, business partners about what a great city it is, and we found that that has really exploded. So we're going to continue on with the social media as my colleagues are as well. Questions that you've asked of us. You're going to see similar answers. I didn't take the screen, but basically I did. And I think Martha knows that too, but good answers, and so I'm going to reiterate them as well from the Warwick side of the equation. What is your region hoping for in its new branding program? Inclusion, of course. An umbrella brand that captures the true essence of Rhode Island that can easily be incorporated into our current messaging. And it's funny, I brought out some campaigns the other day that had the old Rhode Island logo on it, and we did this years ago. So it's kind of going back to the way we used to do things, but I'm hoping now with the new technology we can really advance how this moves forward. Transparent planning, communication and cooperation on where messages are being placed, when, and on what platforms. Again, years ago, I've been around 25 years, so I'm relying on some of the old methods of practice from Rhode Island Commerce, or RIEDC at the time, where we used to talk about where ads were being placed, and each of us could see where it would be to our advantage to partner with them, and we always knew that in advance, and that's something that I've missed over the years, so I'd love to see that happening again, start to talk about how we can do things together and better. Okay, so it's just, the picture tells it all. What would your region like to avoid in the state branding campaign? Exclusion. I don't want to be that guy. So how would your region like to relate to the state and the other regions? As I spoke earlier, and what we're already touting, of course, was central location, transportation hub. We want to talk more about TF Green, bring more visitors in. We're currently up in the 3.5 million passengers. We want to keep that flowing and increasing. Get people to utilize the Interlink. Again, I spoke earlier of marketing in Connecticut and Boston. Super important to get those people back and forth into Boston and vice versa, get them to come to Warwick. I know our hotels are really enjoying the Patriots train ride out of the Interlink into the games, taking advantage of it. And I've been speaking with our hotels, and they're staying in our hotels. So it's a good thing they're not driving, but it's also a good thing that our hotels get to house them and keep them safe. And we're a convenient community, hence stay in Warwick, see Rhode Island. What does your region need from the state to support your local efforts? We need to continue funding from the Warwick Hotel Tax Collections. We are 16 hotels that collect dollars on a daily basis, and they really need the personal attention that's provided to them from our regional office and from the city of Warwick. And it's very, very important when you have that many hotel structures is to continue to market the city of Warwick in that position. Increased communication regarding brand placement, media buys. I think I've gone over that, to co-op or partner. Something that I haven't, I'm speaking from my heart here, it sort of broke my heart when I saw that there was no more staff taking place at the visitor center at TF Green Airport. We would love for somebody to actually take a look at that and see how we can work with that and get that staffed and keep that rolling. We still bring brochures there, but it'd be important when you have 3.5 million people coming through the airport, we want to get them information. And maybe there's new technology that we could work on, but working on that together or having Warwick be a catalyst for that would be something super important to us. I'm not mentioning that Rhode Island Trade Show booth. It would be great if we worked together with the state on shows that we travel to where we could have a statewide brand umbrella where we could all participate. And, you know, although being a region, we could expand our leverage, as I do in my marketing materials, stay in Warwick, see Rhode Island, because I know that people are coming to Rhode Island. They're not necessarily honing in on Warwick's side of the equation, but now with marketing, I sure hope they are. How is your organization absorbing the cuts made to your budget? We've had a staff reassignment, so we've saved some money there. We're hoping to receive some additional state support, and we'll continue to look for ways to seek out grants or partnerships and hopefully do some additional partnerships or co-ops with both the state and my regional partners. And in your package before you today, you'll have our marketing plan. You'll have a one sheet that's a year in review of some of the development related to hospitality, and you'll have some brochures and some postcards. That about sums it up for me. I'm open to questions.
Thank you very much, very much. Are there any questions? That was really, again, another wonderful presentation about a council maximizing its resources. Thank you very, very much. Your recommendations were very good, too. Thank you. Okay, so last but not least, we have Commerce this afternoon.
You can take this back. Oh, Karen, okay. Good job, Karen.
Whenever you're ready, you guys are on.
Thank you. I just want to make a point about the presentations that we just heard, which make the perfect argument for why a statewide campaign is so important. The sophistication of Block Island's campaign is really remarkable. And by the way, there are about 1 billion other destinations who are competing with them for that that market share. And because they're in that market in such an intelligent way, that will make a difference, but the old ways are not going to work. And also the point that was made about Warwick is that, you know, visitors are not looking to come to one particular town. They're looking for an experience, you know, like you're saying that you sort of share the message with all of Rhode Island. They're looking for an experience or a collection of experiences. So having communities work together, having the state work together, and having the New England region work together is just so important in today's marketplace, considering how many more people are engaged daily in an always-on strategy because of technology.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to Rhode Island.
Well, thank you.
Well, so thank you all very much. I want to speak a bit just in reference to what folks said earlier, and then I want to take just a few minutes to go through this very preliminary cut at the monitoring report that we will be using to track our activities. We have a lot of work to be done, and we want to do it with collaboratively with the regions, and so we don't want to come to you all with a fully baked product. We want to to engage folks in a discussion. I know I've been speaking with the folks at Havas, our tourism and branding and marketing agency of record. I know they're meeting with the regions. We've assigned point people for each region, and we'll be having regular meetings to make sure that that the operation statewide stays in touch with the operation in the regions. I think Betsy made a very good point, and I know you all have made it before as well, that people come to Rhode Island and they don't just stay in one town or one region. Very often they travel across the state. And in fact, as we have conducted a good deal of market research with the help of Havas and Longwoods International, what we have been affirmed in is that people come to Rhode Island because in one small place you can be on the water in the morning on Aquidneck Island, and you can be at a restaurant in Providence in the evening, and the next day you can go to the beach across the bay, and it's all within an easy drive of one another. We know the people who come to Rhode Island come from neighboring states, come from the Northeast. They tend to drive here. They bring their cars. And so we want to make sure that we can develop a statewide approach that shows folks who are intending to go to Providence the things they can do in Newport, or folks who are intending to go come to Westerly what they can do across the bay. We want to make sure that we have a single point of contact for this. We'll be working very hard on updating our website. We have a new brand and a tagline coming. We have actually a concerted campaign that we will be updating you all on in short order. This is a work in progress. We're staffing up now. We've begun some of the marketing efforts already, some of the PR efforts already, and we'll have a lot more to share with you as 2016 rolls out. As the high season starts to approach, we focus the majority of our resources on the spring and summer, because that's when we're most likely to influence people to come here. And so we will continue updating you all as that proceeds. This document that you have here shows how we are beginning to think about monitoring how our efforts, both statewide and at the regional level, garner attention. We want to make sure that we are raising the profile of Rhode Island throughout the region, throughout the market of people most likely to come as tourists to Rhode Island. You'll see on the first page, this is the traditional and social media monitoring report, that we will have monthly reports that show how our efforts are working. These are things that we would love to share with the legislature. We don't want to put this on our website necessarily, because we don't want other states to be able to look at it and see how we're doing. But we want to make sure that folks are updated, and we want to make sure that we work with you all to make sure that we're all operating with the same metrics. We want to make sure that we can see and can compare efforts and figure out how to put limited region and state dollars behind things with the highest return on investment. The second page goes a little bit more in depth, has some breakouts per region. Also shows how we'll be reporting media coverage by theme. So the efforts of the marketing campaign include both tourism in principle, but also business attraction. We'll want to follow that as well. And then the final page shows a very preliminary cut at the kinds of metrics that we will be tracking. How much money do tourists spend quarter over quarter in Rhode Island? We'll be conducting economic analysis to see how much this activity supports in tax dollars and in jobs. And we also just want to see what the big stories are. What are the events that are garnering the most attention? What are the things that are getting us visibility beyond our borders? So really pleased to answer any questions that you all have, and thank you very much.
Any questions on the structure, Martha?
Hi, Wade. Betsy, welcome. Thank you. Quick question on the measurements. I'm assuming you will take a baseline before you launch the brand so we know where we're starting from. And then wondering how you'll measure the spend and the economic impact. To Bob's point, we had a study previously that we used that had some good benchmarking data in it. Will you be sticking with that type of methodology or shifting to something different that will be as effective from a year-to-year comparison perspective?
So thank you. We've already taken a baseline. That was one of the things that we brought on board Longwoods to do. Also, Market Probe International did the same through Havas. And we'll also take a report a year hence to see the impact pre and post launch. Caution, we're not going to see the full impact of this, this August. It's going to take it does take a while to penetrate people's consciousness, but to just urge people to be patient. That we should see what we hope to see is the slope get steeper. We'd like to see the growth trends improve, and we hope to build on that year after year after year. I mean, this is the sort of effort that we haven't spent money in a concerted fashion statewide in 20 years. What we want to make sure is that we begin creating a virtuous cycle where we take steps that work, we track the results of those steps, we take more such steps, they make things work even better, and we continue adjusting. One of the reasons we engaged Longwoods, as I think some of the folks from the regions here have said, is that they are in many ways the gold standard for tracking results as well as impact for tourism campaigns. And of course, they had experience with Pure Michigan, which I believe started out as a $5.7 million campaign and is now something close to $30 million. They were able to get that sort of increase by proving year after year that the things they were doing were working. I don't think they got it perfect from the start, but if we're very data driven here and we hone it from year to year, what we would like to get is pretty substantial impact. We think ultimately this can make a big impact on the Rhode Island tourism and hospitality sectors and the economy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Representative Marshall and I were just talking that as part of the resolution that created the study commission, there is twice annual reporting to the House. And I've met with Wade several times to try to determine what should be in that report. We have to determine sort of a structure for that report, and that's not quite done yet. So we will work on that before this commission ends, unless you had something else you wanted to say.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I was wondering if you could expand upon this, Mr. Gibson. Obviously, you have irons in many fires over there at Commerce, Rhode Island that you're dealing with. I would assume Betsy's going to take over this charge with your oversight and be lead on this task.
Representative, that's entirely correct, and we also are in the process of building out a team around Betsy. We're building out a marketing department, in fact, at the Commerce Corporation, and so there will be a dedicated team for marketing tourism. There's also a dedicated revenue source. We made a modification to statute last year that ensured that all of the hotel tax dollars that flow now to the Commerce Corporation instead of to the general fund must be spent on marketing. The state is a wonderful place to live and visit, and so we now will be building a dedicated team with those dedicated dollars.
Okay. And if I could just follow up with Betsy. Betsy, welcome. Wish you the best. Obviously, we'd like to see you tremendously successful in your job. Could you speak to how Massachusetts worked with their individual tourism councils? Bless you. Their individual tourism councils in Massachusetts, and how you see your agency working with the individual tourism councils here in Rhode Island moving forward?
Yes, it's structured differently in Massachusetts. First of all, there are 16 of them, which I have no comment on whether that's an absurd number for a small state like Massachusetts, but they are membership organizations in Massachusetts, so there are tourism assets that are not, strictly speaking, at the table through their regions. Parks and recreation would be an excellent example of that. They are funded in Massachusetts by statute. They are funded partially from the general fund. They are required to match their state money one-to-one with private money, which they usually get through membership dues, but also through co-op advertising. But they're required to run their marketing plans, and in fact, their marketing dollars are ranked by the office that I ran based on the strength and quality of their marketing plans and initiatives. So it's a little bit different because there's a much more of a statutory connection between them, but separate from what we were all required to do. The way in which the regions are invaluable to a statewide effort is as creators of content, because they know what's going on in their regions most effectively. I mean, when you hear that one of Block Island's biggest problems is when are they too crowded, you know, you need to know that from local people, so you don't go, you know, make a big fuss over come visit Block Island this weekend when Block Island really doesn't have room for them. So they provide excellent content. They also create or provide a very important ongoing conversation with the industry in their region. They have credibility. They're known. They have established relationships. They wouldn't be there if they hadn't been successful over the years. So they're just an essential part of the program. If on the state level, if we say, well, this is the photography that we're going to put out about Newport, this is our vision for Newport, and we don't even get Newport's, I mean, that'd be ridiculous, because they know what they're trying to say about their state. There may be an instance where we would work together and say, do you think maybe you could highlight more of the ethnic restaurants, for example? But we wouldn't tell a region what they should do. I think that the regions in Massachusetts would also say that we were extremely helpful to them in getting current information about best practices and getting them access to the tourism industry nationally and regionally. We started a program called Tourism U, which I hope to institute here in Rhode Island, where we from the Commerce Corporation and Havas and other partners who we work with would go around the state in coordination with the regions and just host free information sessions for the tourism industry, you know, the people who don't have time to come to Providence for a meeting and stay all day at a conference and all that, but just help them learn whatever it is they want to know, latest tricks of the trade, how to pitch a story to the media, how to use social media effectively, what are the assets on the state website that they might be benefiting from, that sort of thing. The information that we put out is only as good and as current as what the regions help us provide.
Thank you, and welcome, Betsy, to Rhode Island. I'm really happy to hear that you want to work collaboratively with the regional councils and you want to help them with their best practices. My question focuses more on the branding effort. I remember, Wade, I think you came here in October, and you said by January 1st we would have an established brand. And I'm just curious if we could have an update on where we are in that process, please.
So we have a logo and a tagline that we have developed. I would caution that, you know, if you think about a brand, the logo and the tagline are like 5% of the brand. I mean, there are brands out there that don't have a logo and a tag. Like I'm not sure what Facebook's tagline is, right? I mean, so just to be clear that like there's a lot that goes into a brand that is the photographic style and the language and the
logo and the tagline.
Right, but we do have those, and we've sent them off to the MV, and they're testing them right now with new license plate designs, which will be released this summer. We are currently planning a rollout for the tagline and the brand, and the much larger rollout strategy for the next 6 months. That will happen in the near future. We just want to make sure it's timed with other events that are happening so that we get maximum impact from it.
So the logo and the tagline, if my understanding is correct, of the Rhode Island statute, that's something that the regions would have to incorporate into their marketing. Am I correct?
Yes, under statute, we want to make sure that each of the regions works with us to figure out how to incorporate the logo and tagline onto their websites and publications.
So let me ask you, what level of cooperation was there between Commerce and the regions in the development of that logo and tagline?
A good deal. So just if I wanted to go through the timeline, we issued an RFP immediately following the beginning of the fiscal year. We received applications from over 50 firms from around the world. Every single region was given the RFPs to evaluate, to choose the firms. We then conducted a interview process of the finalists, which the regions, through their evaluations, helped us choose. Several of the regions were involved in the final interview that chose the firms that we used. Those firms then started live on November 1, and they began working on finalizing a logo and tagline. We met with the regions in early December, once we had a few weeks to generate what at that stage was not a logo and a tagline, but concepts that informed what the logo and tagline and the broader brand would be, right? So we looked at, what does it mean to be Rhode Island, right? So this is a state where, we were the first state to declare independence and the last to join the United States. It's a place where the Industrial Revolution was born. It's a place with iconic sailing destinations like Newport and some of the finest resorts in the world, in a city in Providence that's one of the was ranked one of the coolest cities in America. I mean, all of this was distilled into a brand concept presentation, which we presented and got feedback from the regions. Following that meeting, we worked with our graphic designer, Milton Glazier, who has created hundreds of brands, including probably most famously I Love New York. And we developed a tagline and a logo, which we subsequently poll tested. We ran it through more than 1,000 people to make sure that the taglines and the brand worked and that they were appealing to people, which they were. We just completed that recently, right before the holidays. And so we will shortly be presenting that brand and tagline to the regions, and following that, releasing it.
And you'll be presenting that as a finalized brand. You'll be presenting that to the regions as what they must use, or is there going to be subsequent collaboration as to whether that branding is appropriate? Would you be seeking their opinion on the brand, or your presentation to the regional districts will be that this is your brand?
So we will be seeking their input. If they have strong reservations with the brand and they are consistent in a different direction, we'll certainly take that into account. But it's not our expectation that will happen. But you're completely right that we are soliciting their input before the launch because we would like it. Ultimately, though, the decision to develop a statewide brand is something with which we've consistently solicited their input, but ultimately the decision to craft a statewide brand will be made by the state.
Sure, I understand it's the state's prerogative as to what the brand is. I mean, we all know that, but I think you have some experts with, I think, combined over 100 years of experience here in Rhode Island. And I'm very happy Commerce has brought in such out-of-state talent. But my concern is that with that out-of-state talent, there might be not as much knowledge of what Rhode Island is about when it comes to tourism. So I would only hope that the regional districts would be incorporated into that selection process.
Well, so, Representative, they have been incorporated?
Incorporated heavily.
Also, to be clear, it's not out-of-state talent. We have a combination of an out-of-state firm as well as a very in-state firm from Jamestown, Epic Decade, which I think anyone involved in our process could say was perhaps the most instrumental of any of the firms involved. So we think we've developed a brand which is very genuinely Rhode Island, and we've worked with Rhode Islanders and people from out of state to do so.
Thank you. Evan is next.
I had a different train of thought, but I'm going to change my train of thought. Wade, My organization hasn't been consulted about the tagline and logo, and has not. Has any of my other colleagues been discussed about the tagline? So, I don't mean to correct you, but we've had no conversations about the logo and tagline.
I don't believe I said you had been consulted yet. What I said is in the very near future you will be.
Okay. I thought I heard something different.
Yeah, I take exception to that, Mr. Gibson, because you just clearly stated to Representative Filippi that all the agencies been included in the conversation of the tagline and the motto for the state of Rhode Island moving forward up until this point. And yeah, I don't know if there's a disconnect between the legislative branch and the administrative branch, but the whole purpose of this commission is to guarantee or ensure that the assets that you see in front of you, which represent all of the regional tourism councils, are utilized, not briefly, but immensely, in the coordination of a statewide branding approach. I don't know. Am I coming across as clear in what I'm saying?
Representative, you're completely clear. I think there's a miscommunication, perhaps in terms of terminology. We briefed the regions on December 7th at the Commerce Corporation around a table for a couple hours. We went through a brand concept. That concept did not include a logo or a tagline because at that time we didn't have a logo or a tagline to brief them on. We then requested meetings a few weeks later. It was a bit tough to get meetings with the holidays. In those several weeks, we developed a tagline and a logo. In the meantime, we've also begun regular meetings with each of the regions to check in and make sure that we're staying on top of them. We've not yet released the tagline or the logo. Prior to doing so, we will make certain to consult all of the regions.
So you polled 1,000 people about the tagline, but you didn't ask the regions their opinion?
These were anonymous polls of people who were it's anonymous research of people who are most likely to visit Rhode Island. This is
so that's a yes. You polled 1,000 people what they thought about the brand and the tagline, but you haven't asked the regional directors their opinion yet?
That is, Representative, that is our very next step. What we wanted to make sure was that we polled, just to be clear, we polled dozens of concepts. I mean, so when you conduct market research on different color schemes and brands, you put everything on the list because we don't know what the baseline is. We want to see how does Ocean State poll, because that's that's our current associated with Rhode Island. We poll how does the Anchor poll, how does our state flag poll. We polled everything. It's a boil the ocean poll that you take to see what are the parts of our brand that resonate and how do they resonate. We wanted to do that first and get our thoughts organized before we went with the regions with something that was premature. We wanted to make sure that we came to them with something that was something they could react to and that was a good enough product that we'd be confident giving it to them. That was very important to us. So yes, we made sure that we did our homework first.
I would like to thank Representative Filippi for his vigilance on this issue. And I think that it's fair to say that with respects to Representative Filippi's district, he's really completely dependent on tourism dollars to make that community economically viable. So I think we can all understand why he's so concerned. It's sort of like turning the baby over a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We are very interested in making sure that we're all very interested in making sure that this whole program is absolutely as successful as possible. But as you can see, even in the two reports we saw today, our regional tourism districts have been growing. They've been almost the most successful part of our economy over the past 6 or 7 years. So that's why we're so vigilant about the way this is going to work. You know, we feel like it's going well and there's new stuff coming and we all want to be on the same page. So that's why we're so vigilant about this.
Can I just add one thing? When people speak about the brand, they sometimes get distracted by the tagline and the mark. Most people, travelers, are going to get their information from a smartphone. Neither of those things will necessarily even be visible on those. So the content, both factual, substantive, dates, calendar dates, photography, as well as the emotional story that we tell about Rhode Island, that is by definition provided by and essential to the regions, because that's what is going to, the visitor who's sitting at home in a potential visitor sitting at home in suburban Boston or Westchester County, New York, is not going to make a decision to come to Rhode Island because the tagline really motivates them. They're going to come because they see photography of Block Island or of Newport or someplace that makes them think, this is a place I want to go. I can picture myself here. I can picture having fun with my family here. It's going to be that emotional pull, that factual pull. This is the date when there's a festival. This is a date when there's a concert. That sort of thing. That's the brand. That's what the brand is. And that is, by definition, something that absolutely is collaborative, because it'd be ludicrous if it wasn't. It would be incomplete.
Are you done, Evan? Did you have something else you wanted to add?
Betsy, welcome to Rhode Island. It's a wonderful place to live. It's a wonderful place to work. I see the Commerce Rhode Island's given you a title of Chief Marketing Officer. Are your responsibilities solely on tourism, or does part of your job description include marketing other technologies and industries in Rhode Island?
It includes the business attraction component.
Myrna? And before you speak, Myrna, we're heading up against 3:30 here, and I know there's a lot more to ask, so I'm going to try to wrap up in 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Welcome, Betsy, once again. Nice to see you. I have a curiosity, given all of this discussion this afternoon. You have stated that you're going to be doing tourism and business. What percentage is going to be dedicated to tourism, and what percentage is going to be dedicated to attracting new businesses? I understand the reasoning behind it, but as a concerned tourism representative for the largest geographical portion of the state, I'm concerned that tourism is a different animal than attracting businesses. So you're serving two different masters, and I'm wondering how you're going to handle that and what percentage of dollars is going to be dedicated to it.
So, Myrna, the percentage is 80-20. When we came and presented to the legislature our proposal last spring, the proposal was a $5 million marketing campaign, $4 million for tourism, and $1 million for business attraction, and that continues to be our focus.
Thank you, Wade.
Just want to caution about putting too much emphasis on a logo and a tagline. That's not a brand. That's a visual symbol that we'll see. But
working on the brand concepts and getting buy-in and agreement on that is the most important part of this. I mean, when you see a logo and a tagline, it's very subjective. You might not like red, I might not like blue. It doesn't matter. What matters is strategically that the work mirrors the strategy that was agreed on. So I don't think this group should get too tied up about what the logo and tagline is going to be, because I guarantee you the logo and tagline will change over time. Most companies do, but our brand shouldn't. Our brand needs to be clearly defined and articulated consistently. And I'm just worried about this conversation putting too much onus on a logo and tagline.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Jen Bramley from Providence Tourism Council. So I think I'm the only person on this council that actually I'm full-time employed by Cox Communications, but am chair of a full volunteer board from Providence. And I have to say, working with Martha and Evan through the years and everybody, this is just a group that really knows what they're talking about. And I mean, I think the representatives have all said that. I would just caution Commerce, or ask Commerce really, to look at what they really have as a group, and whether or not there's been enough meetings. I think this group doesn't feel like we've been included enough. And so whatever steps we can take to actually have opinions brought in are going to be highly, highly valuable to you guys. And just more meetings, more phone calls, just really making this group feel like part of the process, I think is going to make them the biggest champions of this brand across the state. I mean, they're so dedicated to building our economy through this effort. So I would just ask that, whether or not we want to go back and forth on how many meetings it is and how important the logo and brand are, you really have a group here feeling like they're not as included as we should be. So just to say that.
I appreciate that very much, Ms. Bramley. That's why we have begun the schedule as of the new year of meeting regularly with all the regions, and we'll continue doing that. I think the thing that's been most holding us back is until Betsy started a couple weeks ago, we had one tourism staffer at the Commerce Corporation. And so we've been trying to do all of this work with one person. And so we, quite frankly, needed the bodies to be able to have the meetings. I think the representative said very well, there are a lot of other irons in the fire. That's why we have Betsy here. She has a lot of experience doing this in a neighboring state, and she's going to build a strong team that's going to be able to build even on these regular meetings to make sure that we can, we hope to consult the regions more than they ever want. We want to make sure that we are in their regions talking to them with as much communication as possible. And we wish we could have had more meetings over the last couple months, over the holidays and before. There were a lot of meetings that we tried to schedule where we couldn't coordinate people's calendars. But we will keep at it, and as we add capacity, we'll be able to do a better job of it.
I'm going to ask that you provide me with the schedule of meetings with the regions so that the commission can see the meetings, and maybe that'll alleviate some concerns about the communications, and that would be really helpful information for us.
Thank you.
That would be great. You could just give that to the staff. That would be great. In the interest of time, this is a meaty discussion. We have 2 more sessions, and we will continue this, I'm sure. So I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.